Shri Somnath Chatterjee.
One point, if I may just get some clarification. The Home Minister's entire speech, as far as I could understand it, was aimed at showing that the main threat to our security is coming from Pakistan. Yes. The whole thing has been analyzed on the basis of a threat from Pakistan, whereas the Defense Minister has been shouting against China all the time, that the whole threat has come from China. This is why I had said the government should learn not to speak in different voices, but if possible in one voice.
Mr. Chairman, sir, the intervention of the Home Minister in this debate, and he chose to do so because Pakistan, according to him, is such a threat that it was essential to have this explosion.
Insofar as Pakistan is concerned, it impinges not only on external security but also on internal security. I have not made any comment on foreign policy or defense in general.
Bombs for fighting a proxy war? Let's know.
Mr. Chairman, sir.
Please.
Mr. Chairman, sir, yesterday's intervention by the Defense Minister was more defensive about maintaining his position in the government probably, and he was very, very defensive in his speech, in his approach, not the usual George Fernandez performance. And just now the performance of Mr. Advani clearly shows the confusion in this government. And they are groping in the dark to find out now a justification, especially after the statement of the Prime Minister yesterday. And that's why I think Mr. Chidambaram was right in asking that question. The difference between the approach of the Prime Minister and the approach of the Home Minister now, which has been clarified, and now that question becomes much more pertinent. Now, coming to his main theme, apart from what this country apprehends from Pakistan, is that to rouse the sense of pride amongst the people of this country. This was necessary, and that is the greatest achievement, that the people of this country feel proud, and there is all-round jubilation, and there is now an acknowledgement of the role of the BJP government under the leadership of Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee, and that is the only real achievement of this exercise. Sir, we yield to none in accepting the signal contribution made by the scientists and engineers in this respect, and that is not the monopoly of that side to express their views of support and acclamation. We also do that. But the question is, this scientific achievement is now sought to be utilized as with a political objective and a political overtone. Sir, I recall in the 50th year of independence which we are going through, this Parliament spent hours and hours, for several days, to discuss the situation prevailing in this country. What are the things which ail the country, apart from the achievements that we have been able to make. The present Prime Minister was then the leader of opposition. Incidentally, I think that role suits him much better. He made an eloquent speech, sir. But never we did hear any reservation expressed by him about our security per se, that the threat this country was supposedly facing. And when we were covering the entire gamut of this country's position, its economy, its other aspects, therefore there was no advocate, he never advocated the change of our well-established and long-standing nuclear policy. Sir, we discussed during this debate for several days, we discussed about poverty, about hunger, about unemployment, about the unrestrained population growth, about healthcare, illiteracy, power shortage, water shortage, We discussed about probity and transparency in public life and against criminalization of politics, among other things. Sir, I think, I'm sure everybody will agree, the strength of a country depends on curing these ills. Even after 50 years, this country, half of the people are below the poverty line. Millions and millions of people are without any jobs. And when Mr. Indrajit Gupta rightly pointed out yesterday that there is a water and power shortage in the capital, Mr. George Fernandez ridiculed him. That is also a great achievement of this government. That one should not, because it's a question of nuclear bomb, therefore one should not raise the question of power shortage the water shortage in the capital of this country. And when yesterday or today itself, during the question hour, all members from all around the house were clamoring for drinking water, asking the minister to find out means to supply drinking water. That shows the position of this country. So we have never said that we do not want scientific development. We also are very happy and proud when after the denial of the USA to supply a supercomputer, our scientists were able to make one. We also acclaim the scientists of this country when they sent satellites to the orbit. I remember we have been openly applauding their achievements, and we are proud that in spite of several restraints and several constraints, without lack of full conveniences, full facilities, our scientists have been able and engineers have been able to reach very high level of efficiency and high level of achievement. We are all proud of that. But don't try to arrogate that to your political purposes. Sir, we are now told of this security problem. The security problem, yes, there is. Since that discussion and the unanimous resolution that was passed in this House, the only important development that has taken place has been the installation of this government under the leadership of Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee, a government which is nothing but composed of a rickety coalition of all sorts of political parties and with no commonality of interests or policies apart from somehow to grab and remain in power. So since 19th of March, this government has come into being here, and we have seen how the mutual bickerings have taken place between its constituents, how bullying tactics have been adopted by the different components of what I call these hooks of a coalition. 3 ministers have already gone, several ministers under charge sheet, with the demands made by one against the other in the coalition, asking for their resignation. And sir, throughout this period, you have seen a non-performing government with a lot of packages and a prime minister in bondage. We was completely quiet. He was not saying anything. Nobody found. He was almost on hibernation for all this. My very good friend, Deputy Chairman of Planning Commission, had hardly time to enter the Yojana Bhavan. He was perambulating all across the country to make damage control take activities, damage control steps. Now Ramakrishna Hegde, the Commerce Minister, a very close associate of our distinguished Prime Minister, he said our Prime Minister was fatigued, he was frustrated, he was tired, how can he function? But suddenly, sir, we find that our Prime Minister has become very bold and very active, although he still looks very unhappy. I'm sure you are not happy.
After the explosion.
But sir, whatever invigoration is this of the Honorable Prime Minister has been is due to what happened on 11 and 13 May. Along with the people of this country, according to Mr. Advani's perception, our Prime Minister is also proud. And now they say the whole justification is a question of security perception. Yes, sir, security problem is there. but it's more of the party, more of the government than of the country. Now, in the name of patriotism, Mr. Advani or Mr. Bajpai will not allow any of their allies to raise any discordant voices. No more any claims, no more any demands. The packages have now been sealed, and the agenda is now very clear: Hindu nationalism. Mr. Speaker, I was trying to recall whether my knowledge of history is not that profound. I shall be stand corrected if that is so. There never in the history of this country, of independent India, that such a momentous decision has been taken on such narrow partisan political purpose, to save a government which has a tenuous support from only a very quarter of its to 25% of the people in this country. So this feeling is reinforced by what the important functionaries of this government and of the Sangh Parivar they are saying. Sangh Parivar has loaned a very important economist to BJP now, and I quote, "India going nuclear has always been on the BJP agenda. But right now, the explosions were our insulation against instability. Not only does it protect us from the irritation or blackmail," yes, Mr. Gopalaswamy, or blackmail of allies, it also projects the BJP as a government capable of taking hard decisions. The object is very clear. And now what we find, that I do not know whether Prime Minister's clearance was obtained, that Mr. Sheshadri, editor of the RSS mouthpiece organizer, toured the Bhabha Atomic Research Center, even as the countdown had begun. He says it was a friendly visit. Suddenly, he makes a friendly visit to Bhabha Atomic Research Center just before this explosion. And the organizer is the newspaper which first publishes this news on the 11th, which was published on the 11th of May itself. So these are very serious matters. Now, Mr. Speaker, sir, our Mr. Govindacharya, nobody would deny his authority. He said, I quote, "Like the feeling attached to Ayodhya," kindly see the comparison, "like the feeling attached to Ayodhya, the nuclear tests are an emotional nationalist assertion." This is the response. This is the response, sir. And then, of course, our good friend, Mr. The political advisor to the President, to the Prime Minister, the always the smiling Buddha all the time, yes. What he said, it's not a nuclear test, but a test of nationalism. No, Mr. Speaker, sir, the Rajasthan BJP's executive chalked out a plan for our Prime Minister to hold a public meeting. He did not agree to that probably, but that was the decision of your Rajasthan party executive, and that there would be religious pilgrimage in Pokhran, following which rallies would head some with the sands of Pokhran, said a senior BJP leader. Emotion behind the proposal to spread Pokhran sand was to spread the feeling of national self-confidence. All these things are not necessary. If there was a spontaneous rousing of the feeling of pride and fulfillment, yes, it's so far as a scientific achievement, keep it there. I agree with you fully. But you are utilizing it for purposes which the scientists will shudder from. They were not thinking of the mileage to be given to BJP. or to this government, or to the Prime Minister. Sir, strange arguments are being made from the senior members, including a minister on the opposite side, that they were getting frustrated, scientists were getting frustrated. They are going to retire soon, so that before their retirement something must be done. So is that unfortunately everybody has to retire sometime or other. That was said here today also by Mr. Banda. Mr. Jagmohan said that yesterday. They are getting frustrated. Therefore, to avoid frustration of our distinguished scientists, whom Mr. Gujral had rightly, one of them had decided to confer Bharat Ratna, you will go on exploding nuclear bombs, nuclear devices. Sir, we want them to continue with full vigor, with full alertness, with full control of their abilities and efficiencies. For years and years to come, give them extensions, I don't mind, although there may be other very eminent people. Sir, therefore, now, what we are trying to find out, what is the real objective of this? Sir, 1998 BJP manifesto said clearly, I agree, the BJP's stand has been consistent. It says, demanded India expedite the country's nuclear policy and exercise the option to induct nuclear, exercise the right to induct nuclear option. But you had to enter into a hodgepodge of a government. You have to make some adjustments here and there. You said we have agreed, so many parties sitting together had entered into prepared a national agenda. And this national agenda, if it was not to hoodwink the people, very categorically said, we will establish a National Security Council. So this is necessary. The government, so far, the government spokesmen have avoided this. And I have to repeat this, because we need an answer on this. We will establish a National Security Council to analyze the military, economic and political threats to the nation. Also to continuously advise the government. This council will undertake India's first ever strategic defense review to ensure the security, territorial integrity and unity of India. We will take all necessary steps and exercise all available options. Towards that end, we will re-evaluate the nuclear policy and exercise the option to induct nuclear weapons. BJP manifesto did not talk of that, but I find subject to correction. The national agenda made a commitment to this. Now, sir, so far as the defense minister on 20th of March said the nuclear option had been put on hold. We did not say we were going for nuclear weapons. We will re-evaluate policy to ensure security. In the light of that, we will decide on the nuclear option. That was on 20th of March. The Defense Minister of India, who has been withdrawing whatever he is saying, I find, under obviously from the Prime Minister's, because the Prime Minister's pulling him up, apparently. Now, sir, the Security Council, it is known, not yet formed. Mr. Jaswant Singh, poor chap, I would have liked him to be here. You could not get him here. And you are giving all sorts of jobs. Now he has to find out the persons for this council. Now his job is not over. You are sending him to Chennai so often. How can he have time? Now, sir, therefore, without this study, without this review, how could you do this? Sir, now it appears on the very first day itself, on the 19th of March, Mr. Bajpayee, Prime Minister, had called Dr. Chidambaram and said, how do you like to now test it? He came out all smiling, as the newspaper, as the journals say. Therefore, a decision was taken on the very first day. This national agenda was a tamasha. I had said that during the last debate, this is a national tamasha, this national agenda. Therefore, you don't follow it. And just to rouse a sense of pride, you go back on your commitment to the nation commitment to all these small fries, yeah. Not personal disrespect, party-wise, I say, party-wise. No, only party-wise, very small parties compared. You will be swallowed up soon, yes. Now, Mr. Sudarshan said, Mr. Sudarshan of RSS has said that in 1996, within that 13-day constitutional aberration I have said earlier, then even then BJP was thinking of having a nuclear explosion, but at that time there was no Ghauri. Even then you decided. Mr. Advani, I don't know, during that time you were not in the government. We had duly appreciated your desire not to come back without the clearance, but that charge sheet has remained with you. However, another charge sheet. Another charge sheet. Somehow charge sheets are not leaving you. Now, sir, Mr. Speaker, sir, coupled with this, we find that the decision to have a monument there called Shakti Peeth and that construction of a temple. Sir, what is the message to them? And of course, we have a very, very competent Minister for Information and Broadcasting. He cannot, of course, he cannot control one person, 71-year-old, but she has her own tentacles. She knows, she maintains very good, very good equation with people who matter in different sections of the media. And now, lo and behold, Mr. Gill does not control Star Plus, ZTV, does not control TVI. Therefore, all this orchestrated exuberance of the people generally, caught hold of, as if they are caught hold of from the market. So what do you think? Hail Bajpai, hail Bajpai. This is only BJP could do. That these are the types of responses you see. Well, she is inspiring. Her wishes are sufficient, I know. Sir, therefore it's not a question of mere scientific tests, Prime Minister. It's a question of scientific tests plus something. And that is why we are here. Whatever some of you are saying that we are traitors, we are unpatriotic, not patriotic enough. But sir, we have always, whichever government has been, we have never been in power, at least my party. It's a party of self-abnegation. You know that. We did not want to, although you offered the Prime Ministership. Sir, what we said on this issue, on fighting terrorism in Punjab, on fighting terrorism in insurgents in Jammu and Kashmir, we have always said we shall support the government. And our party has had to sacrifice many lives in Punjab, also in Kashmir. Our comrades have laid down their lives for maintaining the integrity of this country. Therefore, don't think it is only your party's great prerogative. It is a right and prerogative of duty of every Indian in this country. And we have, I am happy that our party has contributed. Maybe not in the so vocal sense as you are able to do. But today, on the basis of this scientific achievements that have been made, you now want to, as I said, arrogate every credit. And rightly, Mr. Chidambaram said, there can be only 3 courses. Of course, he mentioned the most important course as the last one, but that is the first, that's the real one. And today, naturally you are not happy with this motley crowd. How can you be happy? They are not allowing you to function properly. And now, therefore, Therefore, Mr. Prime Minister, the attempt to try to show to the people that a great decision has been taken, great achievement by you. Mulayam Singh has rightly said everything was ready. You didn't have to do anything except to take a decision. But the question is, sir, why we are worried? After long period of time and assiduously, with great effort and great, as I said, diplomacy, things were becoming normal. Since the visit of Mr. Rajiv Gandhi in 1988 to China, things were much more normal. We are inching towards, or even if we were faster than that, towards normalizing the relations. And Comrade Indrajit Gupta rightly read out, and Mr. Natwar Singh also read out, the answers that were given yesterday on the floor of this House clearly belie whatever may be your today's versions about the situation in China, about which Mr. George Fernandez spoke so haltingly yesterday, not eloquently. And today, of course, either they have divided the two enemies according to them, or they have shows their confusion. Now, Mr. Speaker, sir, the question therefore necessarily comes, and the government has to answer. Mr. Advani, with all his, if I may, I rightly appreciate his intelligence, great intelligence, and his choice of words. I always admire him. I have been admiring him. Although what can I say, sometimes he's now with his proactive approach, I don't know where he will take us. But yesterday something very interesting was said. We have to ask, why now? Why now, within few days of your assumption of power? 19th of March, 8th of April, what happened? Can't we ask? As members of parliament, as representatives of the people, and you are rightly reminded you are only 25%. Can we not ask why now? What happened without the strategic review which you have promised to the country? Why even, Sharad Pawar, I don't know, where were you? That the Prime Minister of India could not catch hold of you? I don't know. Had you gone abroad? I don't know. No, you are here. Yeah? Yes, even he could have sent his place. Therefore, you cannot get the leader of opposition in this country to talk in such an important matter. They had gone to Madras secret. But nothing should be secret to when we have Lal Krishna Advani as the internal security minister. Who can be outside his radar? I don't know. And surely you are being sort of followed by these. Now George Fernandez was very intelligent, if I may say so, within quotes, within that it was now because it was not done earlier. It's a flippancy coming from the defense minister of this country. He said, yes, it was done now because it was not done earlier. I was amazed. The sooner you get rid of him, the better for this country. He is no longer the same George Fernandez. It's a very small g, very small f now. The question is, yes, nuclear option we have always said, don't give up. As we have been saying very repeatedly, the country has been won. Don't forget that, Mr. Prime Minister, on not signing the CTBT. Everyone in the country has supported. You sit standing there, you have supported. And now you have breached that. We have said, yes, don't sign CTBT. One cannot be a party to NPT, whatever may be there. And that we keep our options open because of the security perceptions. Now why? Why do you give up? At the same time, India's great position in the world community, that although we are in a position to do it, we are applying self-restraint. But we are keeping our option open and at the same time trying to bring about a total disarmament. Of course, that is our objective. We know it's not easy. person like great eminent our foreign ministers, prime minister like Mr. Gujral, he has been trying. I am no expert at all. Now then, when everybody in this country trying to maintain that position, that yes, we shall have this India's long-standing policy with twin components. Refusal to surrender the nuclear option by acceding to the NPT regime and self-imposed and conditional restraint in not militarizing the option has been our policy. And this policy has paid. And when we ask here, when some of the honorable members, distinguished members ask here, how having your bomb or how having this explosion will stop the activities that you are complaining of, we are today complaining of, this proxy war. Mr. Natwar Singh rightly just interjected a little while back. Is proxy war controlled by this? Of course, Mr. Mulayam Singh Yadav has said, we shall support you in all matters of use of conventional weapons. And rightly pointed out, how can you have a nuclear weapon as a weapon of defense? These things require to be explained, Mr. Prime Minister. Now, today is just at 2 o'clock, I heard a news on the TV that is explosion in Pakistan is imminent. Now, what will you do? What will happen? Are we not getting into an arms race? Can this country afford? Can our subcontinent afford to have it? Is it not our objective to have friendly relations with everybody in this world, particularly with our neighbors? Are we achieving it? Sir, of course, we ill to none in our concern for maintaining our security. Everything has required to be done. Now you have decided on a moratorium. Now suddenly we find my good friend Brajesh Mishra is talking of, obviously with the Prime Minister's clearance, of discussing about possible participation or being a party to CTBT. He says India would be prepared to consider being an adherent of some of the undertakings in the Comprehensive Testament Treaty. What are these? What are the thinkings? He says, but this cannot obviously be done in a vacuum. It would necessarily be an evolutionary process from concept to commitment and would depend on a number of reciprocal activities. What thinking of the government is on this? We see nothing in the Prime Minister's either statement or the enclosure. What is it? Please tell us. Now, sir, Mr. George Fund, our Defense Minister, has said our weaponization is complete. He says, without weaponization, this whole question of being a nuclear weapon state does not make any sense. Nuclear weaponization is necessary and in the ultimate analysis inevitable. Arguing that nuclear weapons had always been seen as a deterrent, he said no one is talking of nuclear wars. There is only one instance when nuclear weapons were used, and we know the circumstances. Nuclear weapons will only be a deterrent. It was not deterrent so far as urges and aspirations of the people of Vietnam were concerned, or the people of Iraq were concerned. Wherever there have been such situations. And you want to say you utilize this for this purpose, Mr. Prime Minister, and the government is not explaining to anybody. And sir, I am very, very sorry. And it's a matter of great, we are entitled to comment, and the Prime Minister owes it to the country to reply. Why did he write to President Clinton stealthily on 11th of May itself? What was the objective? Why did he do that? Trying to keep America in good humor? And sir, trying to make out a case of China and Pakistan being security threats to this country? Is that the statement?
Confirm whether Pakistan has exploded 2 nuclear devices or not.
Yes, no?
Will you please confirm?
कहाँ से मिला खबर?